So, Kevin, I really do. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when the Steelers passed on Dan Marino. It didn't work out. Unfortunately, Gabe Rivera, was picked, and he got in a car accident in Pittsburgh because he was a kid from Texas Tech who never drove in the ice and slipped and had a bad accident, was paralyzed. But I remember the regret and feeling within the city. Like, the kid grew up here. He went here. He could have just stayed at home and just drove to the games. Like, it was ready made. They didn't do it. I know the Mitchell Trubisky era is beginning in Pittsburgh, but I think they should take him. That's just my opinion.
I want your opinion on this. Let's stay on the draft for a few minutes, and we'll get to the NBA. First of all, what's the buzz like in Las Vegas now, a few days out from the draft?
It's incredible. It's actually I don't know if people know what they're going to be getting into. I mean, Vegas is a big event town and has had, New Year's Eve and amount of people in the past. But this is all I just drove by the stage set up last night at the Bellagio for the first time. There's going to be a lot of people here. It's going to be hard to get around as far as getting ride shares and things like that. I'm out scouting out where to park if I'm going to go down there. I got a media pass to cover it, so I don't know what I'm going to do. But there is a genuine buzz, at least down there. Outside of there, it's another day in Vegas. Like, nobody even, like, outside of that circle, it's like, wait, the draft? What is that? There's going to be people here? And you're just like, oh, my goodness, yes, it's going to be people here.
What is your experience with making odds for the draft? Did you like that, or is it something that you really don't prefer because there's so much uncertainty and so much quote unquote inside information you probably aren't privy to?
It's the worst thing I've ever booked in my life. Hands down. It's not. I mean, I love sports and I love the games and I love booking the games and betting the games and all this other stuff. Futures, golf, tennis, even stuff that's not right in the wheelhouse, but it's always fun. There's nothing fun about booking the draft. Nothing. It's you really feel like you're behind the eight ball every second. You don't know if you put it up late, they call you names. If you put it up early and don't take bets, they call you names. Everybody's looking to take advantage of every number that you put up. Now, that happens all the time, but at least you got a fair shot, because even if you have a bad number, game can kind of play out. And, I've seen good numbers win. I talk about this CLV all the time. At least, the games are somewhat random. I say nobody knows shit all the time. I mean, it is what it is. The draft, I feel like somebody knows something. You sit there and you take bets on stuff and you're like, oh, why are they betting that? What is that? I mean, look at this move on the guy to go first overall. I think I would bet a house that he's going to go first overall with this late move like this. People in the know. This is what happens. You don't take bets on the other side of any of it. So I said it on my show, Bostonian versus the book. I'd rather have a root canal than book the draft.
What are those limits? Like, what are you dealing with as far as saying, okay, we got to cut you off. We don't want to get burned on this.
So, I mean, I think to keep it fair, you can take higher limits on the markets that may have more liquidity. So, who gets drafted where, like what position individual drafting, $1,000 a bet, limit bet. I mean, sometimes two. Other books are 500. Other books are just don't put it up at all. So I think that's fair, a dime. But, they'll tell you, oh, you guys build these big buildings and you're taking $1,000 on the NFL draft. Yeah, because you're the only one betting it. It's a very limited volume. There's not a lot of bets on this stuff. Maybe more now than ever before because there's more sports books and more options in more states. But Nobody's betting this. More people will bet the Nets and the Celtics tonight than will bet the NFL draft. But you have to be on guard because you're not going to get Edwards, right? Is the guy's name that's got the Steve move to be the number 1 pick for Jacksonville? I believe it's Edwards.
No, Trayvon Walker.
Trayvon Walker.
You think of Anthony Edwards because he went to Georgia, maybe.
Right. I got them all mixed up. I mean, they're all going to get drafted.
Yeah.
He's getting picked, but nobody's going to bet that he's not
at
this point. So as the book, you're like, whew, we just need 1 or 2 to not happen the way they have been bet, and usually doesn't end up that way.
So just refresh my memory for a second, Dave. We know that a lot of, the DraftKings, FanDuel, all of those have the odds up. What about in the Vegas casinos? Are they still doing that with the draft, or have they started doing that?
Oh yeah, we've been putting it up here, but it's almost embarrassing to say. I've been telling people on every show that I've gone on and will continue to the rest of this week until Thursday. The Nevada Gaming Control Board allowed sportsbooks to take bets on the draft with the caveat. And I guess the books maybe had a say in this, maybe not. You can't take bets on draft day. So in Nevada, when you come here, I mean, there could be 300 to 500,000 people here for the draft. They're not all going to bet. It's a very small percentage of that. But still, when you get the bigger number, just like sports books taking volume, there's going to be people. And this was one of my worst nightmares when I was out in the locations. When we had it up, people come up to the counter on Thursday in the morning. First thing in the morning, we just open up, 8 a.m. Hey, I want to bet the draft. Sorry, it's off. Well, what do you mean it's off? Nevada Gaming Control Board. Well, I want to bet it now. Can I bet it? No, but would you like to bet a meaningless hockey game this week? It's up and it's available. Would you like to bet an NFL future? You could do that. I can't bet the draft tonight. Nope. So it makes for a very uncomfortable situation. And then when I was in the risk room, I was taking the calls. Hey, will you guys put the draft back up? No, we can't. Why? Nevada Gaming Control Board doesn't allow us to take bets on it during the day of the draft. Because somebody could come in, an agent, like imagine the number of people here that actually know this week that are when their guys getting drafted. I mean, you take the call, you come downstairs or you get on your app and you bet 5,000 if they're taking on this guy's going to be picked next. So it's a very touchy situation, but it's up. And I mean, a lot of books wait until this week to put it up. Just put it up this week, because there's going to be people here and take bets. Manage it best you can, lose a little, try not to lose too much and move on. And, let's keep booking the baseball and the basketball. It's way better.
Final thing on the draft, Dave, we'll move on to the NBA playoffs. If you take away the Nevada Gaming Commission and their choice, would you want them to bet on Thursday, or would you have that fear as a book there'd be too much inside information that you'd get burned on it? So is that almost like helping you out to say, okay, we don't want to get burned. We're not going to take all this money. People are going to lose. They're probably going to win because they know something.
Oh, I wouldn't take any bets on the draft. I would just, as a book, I used to say it all the time. Why are we doing this? And then I went to the risk room. I was like, you guys are complaining, at the top about this, that, whatever. Why are we taking it? Let everyone else do it. This would be one. It's not that much volume to have the arguments. I'd rather just be called, oh, you guys are wusses. You're not taking draft bets. Yeah, we're not. But you want to bet 20,000 on an NBA game? We're your place for it. Come on in. You want to bet to win $500,000 on the Super Bowl future? We'll be glad to take it. So don't talk about limits. It's just something that's so hard. So yes, I wouldn't even book it at all if I had my choice. If I was running a book and if I ever do it again, I'm not going to book the NFL draft. I don't care how much volume we miss because we're not going to make money. It's a complete burn money loss leader. You're getting people in your ecosystem, Kev. That's the buzz. Hey, football fans, come bet the draft with us. We'll give you props. We'll give you boosts. We'll give you all this stuff. If it was my book, I would tell the marketing department, let's focus on Kentucky Derby futures or some more NBA playoff stuff. Let the draft, give it to somebody else.
One thing I feel like I've learned through the years is don't back favorites that are on losing streaks. So we go to this. What argument can you make for the Brooklyn Nets tonight to cover and to continue this series?
Somebody gets hurt for Boston. I don't know. There's nothing. I don't see it, Jeff. I don't see it. I didn't see it before the series. I haven't seen it during the series. And now this team with great intestinal fortitude and a real team environment with a guy dressing like a rap star on the sideline that keeps threatening to play, and then every time it gets close, he don't play.
Oh, you mean this guy?
That guy. Look at that jacket. Is that green? They're playing the Celtics, man. What are you doing? You can't wear green.
Well, no, to be fair, that was from the play-in game against Cleveland, to be fair about that.
Oh, okay. All right. So let's be fair. He didn't wear that during, but he's looked very like the kids say, clean on the sideline, not playing basketball. I don't think there's a chance in hell they extend this series. I mean, you need to have some sense of pride and ability to withstand adversity to avoid being swept. It's the hardest one to win. We've heard the players say it, the coaches, and I believe it. I mean, I've seen it. I've bet it. And you'll hear people today, Brooklyn's not going to get swept. Really? Really? For 2 months, I was talking about it like Brooklyn's the favorite to win the East. Is anybody watching the games? Wow, when Kyrie's allowed to play in Brooklyn, they're going to win. Oh, yeah, Ben Simmons is going to come back. Oh, okay. The only thing I didn't see ahead of time is KD getting manhandled. I didn't see this coming. Maybe this is the game where KD puts him on his shoulders and scores 52 and they win by 1. That's it. I don't think it's happening.
A couple things on Ben Simmons here. Number one, if they're down 2-1, is this more? I don't want to excuse Ben Simmons at all because my back hurts, all this other stuff that he hasn't played in a year and he's not in shape. Like, I mean, you haven't played in a year. You should be working to be in shape. You're getting paid to do this. But they're down 2-1. You think the Nets are putting him back in down 3-0? They're like, forget it. We don't want to burn this guy. Like, let's not throw him out there down 3-0. Do you think that there's something higher up there than just Ben Simmons saying my back hurts?
There better be. What is he adding at this point? He hasn't played basketball in a year. Let's throw him in to the first round of the Eastern Conference playoffs against a really good basketball team who's very physical. I mean, we're not playing Sacramento on a Tuesday in February. We're in the Eastern Conference playoffs against the Celtics, who have made it a point to get in everybody's face. I mean, I don't know what the even thought process is. Simmons is out for the series. If it's 2-2 and he's been practicing and can offer me 12 minutes of quality time and maybe lock somebody down or come in and take 4 fouls and do something, I'd consider it. But if I'm in that room or I'm the coach, I'm like, what are you doing here? And if I'm a player on the team, I'm like, dude, sit down. Go sit in the press box because you're making it a circus and you're making it about you. Try to win games. Can't help us win games? Sit on the side. I can't believe that the even talk of him playing. Somebody asked me on Twitter and I told them this. They said, will Ben Simmons play this series? I said, no, minus 8,000. This was before the series. Will he ever play for the Brooklyn Nets? I made no the small favorite. I don't think he will. And then they said, will he ever play NBA basketball again? And I said, yes, was the favorite, only because he's going to run out of money at some point. He's going to need to do something.
Such a putz. Let's go to let's go to his old team, the Raptors, and the 76ers against the Raptors. Yeah. Now, so in reality, Toronto should be tied at 2 in this series, but they blew the game 3 and hit that crazy shot. And then the Raptors, I'll give them credit on this one, that they could have folded it up and just got swept. And they came back, they actually showed up for game 4 and won. Now you go back to Philadelphia, where the Raptors not played well. I know game 2, they were all banged up and they really didn't have a lot of bodies. But do you think here that Toronto can hang again, or Doc Rivers, the ultimate closer, they could do this, if they could get through this one so they could finish off Toronto?
Surprised at this number. Okay, Roger. I over 7? Like, I don't know. I just Embiid's banged up, and this is the first time we saw it affect his play. Now they know they got to win this game. They haven't been great at home, especially against the number. They did cover the first 2 games at home in this series, but man, like it feels high to me. I think I would have had this thing 5.5, 6, and let him bet me up to 7 and started this thing early. I don't know. I mean, this morning I think it's coming down. I think bad guys are going to be on the Raptors. Could be wrong, but first thought is that it's gonna be it's an elimination game, and I don't know. I don't think the Raptors are ready to just roll over. I think this is going to be one of those games. It's going to be adversity, and then it may be a foul situation at the end that actually gets them this cover. But I don't think this is a blowout by any means.
Yeah, I always wondered, at least your thoughts on this, the elimination game with, an underdog. Do they pack it in? I mean, you look at just Toronto, Denver yesterday, Chicago obviously is going to be a dog going to game 5 at Milwaukee. Atlanta's going to be a dog at Miami in game 5. How do you base those? Because Brooklyn's obviously the outlier here because they're favored in an elimination game. But
Makes
how
no
do you
sense.
judge that with the underdogs with their backs to the wall?
More often than not, both in NBA and NHL, Kev, I think the over comes into play a little bit more in an elimination game where maybe not so much that it's a blow up and they pack it in. It's that they keep going because there's the end of the season proposition. At some point, yes, you throw up the white flag, but like even in certain situations, it's like you saw Denver. Denver wasn't going down without a fight yesterday. They just kept coming, and they were at home. When you're on the road, it's a different story. You see it all the time. You're like, all right, that's it. Like, just put a towel over your shoulders or around your neck. Bench mob plays and finishes out the game in a basketball game, and then it can run away. So I think that's why the number on the side is 8 here, because if we're halfway through the 4th, it's a 12-point game. You'll see it in the in game. It'll be at least that number or higher, because the other team is done. They start taking them out, and when you see them raise the white flag, boom, that's when you know. But if they don't do that, or they have a coach that's like coaching for his next spot or trying to keep this team together, the core is going to stay. Maybe there's some fight longer and the game goes over.
Now, the third game tonight, Dave, Jazz and the Mavs. First time we're seeing Dallas favored in this series. Now, obviously, Luka was back in game 4. I was on Utah on Saturday, even with Luka back, and I don't know how the Jazz totally melted down there. They were in control of that game in the first half, and Luka was great considering he's not 100%. And can you make a case for Utah here as far as getting points for the first time? Or do you think now Luka's, even though they lost the game 4, they blew it at the end, you think now that he's back in there that Dallas can win 2 of the next 3?
I've been on Dallas every game in this series. I think Dallas is a much better team than given credit for, and I thought odds makers and books over-adjusted. Maybe rightly so, because Luka's value to that team is strong, but then they go and win 2 of the 3 games without him. He comes back and they lose. So maybe that argument maybe sounds a little bit ridiculous, but they've changed the way they play in the playoffs. I mean, they're shooting threes. The Jazz they just will not cover that 3 in the corner. They did a lot better job in game 4. The number's coming down, Kevin. Like, the number's 3, pretty much painted 3 everywhere, but I think it'll come down before it'll come up. I think, in the opener was 3.5. I like Dallas. But again, I've liked Dallas since the start of the series, and all we did was just add Luka. Okay, I think the number's too short. It should be 4 or more, and I'll be on Dallas. The total in this has me stymied. I don't know. I thought the last game would go over, and it went way under. I thought the game 1 would go way under, and it went way over. So the total has me kind of going back and forth. My initial lean today would be under again, which means it'll probably fly over halfway through the fourth quarter.
Do you give the Pelicans a shot in the series against the Suns?
Biggest surprise to me. I mean, this is really I thought they got their one and they went and won last night. I don't know. They've won a road game. They held court when they were down 2-1. I think this thing's a lot closer than people are willing to talk about. I mean, if Chris Paul finds a way to get jinxed again or to be, shown the door on the way out with the best team, the most wins, the number 1 overall seed in the first round to the New Orleans Pelicans, a play-in team, who really, when you look at the metrics and you look at the numbers, should have no shot of this. But I'll say Phoenix wins. It might take 7. It might take 7, Kev.
Feels like that Celtics-Hawks series a few years ago. Remember they had Josh Smith and that Hawks team that they were down early. They forced a Game 7, and then Boston ended up beating them in Game 7. But it feels like that way that they could hang, maybe get one more, probably lose Game 5 in Phoenix, win Game 6 at home, and then probably lose Game 7 back in Phoenix. Yep. But I want to now transition to baseball, Dave.
Yep.
So what did you think about the entire Kyle Schwarber situation with Angel Hernandez last night? Him going almost full Jimmy Dugan from A League of Their Own, doing this and pointing and then all this other stuff. I found one thing funny. Josh Hader had the strikeout. He just turned his back, missed the whole thing. I wonder if he looked back at this. But Schwarber, I think everyone was celebrating Kyle Schwarber for what he did with that argument last night.
So last night I went to see, you never know who your neighbors are in Vegas. I'm at a cookout last week for Easter, and we're hanging out in the neighborhood, and the guy says, "Hey, why don't you come see my show? I'm Michael Jackson in a show called MJ Evolution." Like, what? He's like, "Yeah, I'm Michael Jackson." It's okay. So I go and see the show last night. It was a great show, by the way, and I highly recommend it. So I didn't see it live. I get home and I see the Angel Hernandez missed call. It's all over social media. Then I watched the highlights. I'm like, whoa. And I saw it last night where I retweeted it. The guy said, Kyle Schwarber is the voice of America. I mean, that was outstanding. That he finally just had enough and said, "Oh, I'm getting thrown out and I'm taking him with me. I'm doing it for everybody." It was one of those ones for the people. I mean, both sides. You can't. It's hard enough to hit a baseball. If you can't hit that pitch, I coach the kids all the time, and they'll come back to the dugout, and I'm just like, "Don't say a word. I know it was outside. It's fine." Like, because they're like, they get rung up on strike 3 all the time. And it's left-handers, Kevin. It's the way the umpires stand, the way they square their shoulders. That pitch somehow to them looks like a strike. I've seen it from 10U up now on the softball fields. I did a Kyle Schwarber one time in California. I said, "Blue, you've been missing the game all game." And I went nuts because, it cost us the game. And he was like, "Listen, I don't know if you should coach anymore." And I said, we got people watching. We got the world's eyes on this. Those videos have millions of views. Angel Hernandez gets another assignment. It's unbelievable.
Apparently, I don't know if this is true or not, but I'm going to guess it's true. So they asked Kyle Schwarber after the game, "What did you say during this whole thing?" You know what he said to him?
What?
He said, "Cheesesteaks can see better than you do."
I mean, it's true. It's true. Whether you get the whiz or not, you could definitely, the cheesesteaks are minus 280 to make the right call over him. It can't continue to happen. And then, we're going to get the robo-umps. It's going to happen, Kev. It's going to happen. We're going to have this robo-ump thing, calling balls and strikes. Then what are they going to complain about? I don't know. Just be consistently close at this point. You can't have that keep happening. And I mean, at some point, somebody in Major League Baseball is going to say, "Listen, we can't have this guy out there. We can't have him out there." You would think. But again, what do I know?
I told you this before. I still hate the extra inning rule with the runner on second. I hate it so much. And I had the Royals yesterday, And I get that they had the bases loaded, top of the order, and they had back-to-back strikeouts. But I think we had 4 games on Saturday and Sunday where the road team scored in the top of the 10th inning or top of the extra inning, and then the home team still won. I feel like the home team still has an advantage, even if they're down 1, which is crazy in these games.
So every night I do this show in-game live on Sports Grid and Sirius XM 159. Okay. If you see a tie baseball game in the 8th inning, just bet the over. It's absolutely the only way you lose is a 1-runner in the 9th, where you get either the visiting team scores in the 9th and a closer holds off the home team, or the home team walks it off. But if it's 2-2, top of the 8th, go bet the over. There's something wrong with this algorithm. I'm doing it myself. I wish I had an alert on my phone every day. Blindly betting the over because it turns off as soon as they go to the bottom of the 8th. So you have to get it in the top of the 8th because they can't figure out the rule. The rule is encouraging scoring. Unfortunately, when you have the visiting team, what you also, and I've done this too, is in the bottom of the 8th, I bet the visitor. In the top of the 9th, I bet the home team because you take plus, you take plus, you take plus, you take plus. If nothing happens, you can do it again in the 10th, but bet the over because in a 2-2 game in the top of the 8th, they make the total. So it's 2-2. That's 4 runs. They make the total 5.5. How do you not get 5.5 if you go to extras? Both teams score more often than not, or the visiting team scores 2 runs because they start with a runner at second. It's a really good bet. I don't know how much longer books will do it because I'm telling everybody, and I'm doing it myself. But, I mean, it's a really good – it's the best in-game bet in baseball that I've found in the last couple of years.
Well, think about that Red Sox-Rays game a few nights ago. It was scoreless going to the 10th, and the Red Sox didn't have a hit, and then they end up with 5 total runs in that game.
It went to 1.5. I was watching the line. It went to 1.5 like it was going to be a 1-run game because that's what the algorithm tells it to. Like, and no one that's actually watching the game or, thinking it through. Yeah, I know it's 0-0, no hit, 9 innings, whatever. You start with a runner at second. Both teams. You're favored to score with no outs and a runner at second every time, no matter what part of the lineup you're in. Although nobody bunts, Kevin. It drives me crazy. Nobody will bunt the runner over, especially the home team, knowing all they need to do is plate that run. The visiting team doesn't score. The first guy up can bunt the runner over or just hit it to the right side. More often than not, they strike out or hit a ground ball to third base. He checks the runner at 2 and goes to 1. It's basic fundamental baseball, and nobody does it. Just bet the over.
Can you explain this one? Why the scoring is so down, even though pitchers aren't hitting this year?
I cannot. I think books are genuinely getting like, all right, this is ridiculous because you don't even need to think. Look at the totals today, Kev. There's a 6.5. There's a 7. There's 3 games in the American League. They're all 8. You may get a little 8.5 on the Houston, Texas game. But last year it was the sticky stuff, and they changed that. I haven't found out yet directly, but it's got to be the ball, right? Like something is up with the ball. Might be the Angel Hernandez strike zone. That's not helping. We had heard that pitchers were going to be behind hitters with this short spring training and everything else. And now it's sheer domination. I don't know. I don't like to see it. I mean, but I don't want to see 10-9 every game either. There's got to be a happy medium. I don't know. We'll see it. I mean, think about this, though. Like the NBA had the problem at the beginning of the season, too. The ball wasn't right. Nobody was used to the ball, et cetera, et cetera. Oddsmakers books had to bring numbers down quick. And then it started to get in a rhythm. and the game started going over. Same thing's probably going to happen in baseball. I just don't know when. I mean, it might not be until mid-May, late May, maybe even June when the weather's really warm everywhere and batters maybe get their eyes trained a little bit better.
Final thing before I let you go, somebody had a tweet. They said that the Pirates won 3 of 4, but still got outscored by like 14 runs this weekend.
Thought we were getting out of here without mentioning the 21
I had to.
loss. It's fine. 3 of 4, 500. It's April 25th. We're 8-8, baby. We're on the road to 65 because I got over 64 and a half. I think it could happen. But yeah, I got away pretty much unscathed on Saturday, losing by 3 touchdowns. I got one text, hey, is Tomlin going to kick a field goal down 21-0? Oh, here we go. Okay. It's fun. It's baseball. They come back and win the next day and the game goes under. It's 21-0 the day before. You get up the next day. Cubs are minus 150, 160 in that area. The total's 8.5. The game comes 4-3 Pirates. I'm not going to lie. I was pretty happy.
I don't want to call it a lock day, but you lose by 21, you're motivated the next day. I don't care. You got it. I don't care if you're the Pirates, whoever you are. You got to be motivated the next day.
I would think so, but a lot of times, I mean, with a team like the Pirates, half the guys aren't playing the next day. They're platooning a couple positions. They're, and the Sunday lineup is different. That's another thing I think, people new to the game got to understand. The Sunday lineups are day game after night game most times. Not that one in particular, but a lot of times they are. So you get guys taking days off. You get other guys getting an opportunity. You see a lot of overs on Sundays because they're day games. Just little things to keep in mind. But, yeah, you should be motivated every day as a professional athlete. After losing a baseball game 21-0, you're damn well right you better be motivated to get a couple base hits and make a couple plays.
Well, they did it, and they got 3 or 4 from the Cubs, so they're moving up those National League Central standings. I mean, still behind Milwaukee. St. Louis has been all right, and that should be a good series. Cardinals and Mets coming up.
Cincinnati is the worst team in baseball. They're on pace to be one of the worst teams in history, Kevin. This is one of those ones you can make the lines with good games. San Francisco, Milwaukee today, because of the pitching matchup. Burns is heavily favored. But, I mean, yeah, you get Mets, Cardinals this week. I hate to say it. The Mets are good. The Mets are good. Their pitching is lining up. This is really – I'm impressed. They lose 2 or 3 this week to the Cardinals. How about that?
I lied. I want one more thing from you, and then I'll let you go.
Sir.
Going back to the Reds for a second.
Mm-hmm.
As an odds maker, explain this one to me. So on Saturday, the money came in on the Reds with Tyler Mahle on the mound, and they had lost 10 straight. How do you play that? How do you explain? And they lost like 5-0. That a team that's lost 10 in a row, money's coming in. It's like the Cleveland Browns effect from a few years ago. Like, oh, they're going to come back and win. They're just going to. It feels the same way that this team has stunk, but yet why is all this money coming in on this team to end the losing streak today?
It happens all the time. And I've seen this happen where they bet against the streak. And I learned it from an old wise guy. He literally told me, bet on the streak, because when you're wrong, you're only wrong once. If you bet against the streak and it's a 6-game losing streak and you're like, oh, they're not going to lose 8 in a row. They lose number 7, they lose number 8, they lose number 9. Now you're chasing your money. And listen, the Reds went one guy. There's not too many pitchers left in baseball where you're like, oh, this guy's going to win today, especially on a bad team. I don't get it. I just know when I was in the book, I'd be like, the bad guys are betting. They're betting the Reds today. Oh, good, because no one else is. Let them bet them again. Hardly move the number. See if they want more. Extend more limits. It's an absolute dream when these guys do this. I mean, I used to joke with guys who would come in. Browns is a perfect example. Like, Are you watching the games? I used to tell guys, look at the. Are you seriously? Are you watching the games? Oh, come on, they're not this bad. They're not. Okay, here we go. Between them and the Jets, there's always value. Value is in the eyes of the beholder. I know that the term, the expression is beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. If you find value in the Cincinnati Reds, might be time to go see the eye doctor. I'm just saying.
Angel Hernandez, right? Check him out. Dave Sharapan. You can find him on Twitter, Sportsbook Consigliere, SportsBK Consig. Dave, thank you so much for the time. We'll talk to you next week. And when we talk next week, it'll be May.
And we'll be talking about the NHL playoffs and those Florida Panthers, the odds-on favorite, maybe winning the President's Trophy, Kevin, to win the Stanley Cup. I can't wait to talk to you about hockey next week.
The one thing that scared me, though, really quick was Tampa Bay's got the record for most wins in the season, 62. It got swept by Columbus. So I hope that doesn't happen with the Panthers. They have some meltdown. They have a bad week.
How do you be motivated? This is so hard, right? Like, we're getting ready for the playoffs. We're trying to win the Stanley Cup. Who cares about the game against Columbus? Like, it's hard to fix that mentality. And then when you win the President's Trophy, that means you don't win the Cup. You just don't.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they almost want to lose the games. It's okay. I don't want that President's Trophy.
All right, Dave. Thanks.
See you, Kev.
See ya. There's Dave Sharapan right there. And, with the Panthers, that kind of scared me a little bit, seeing Tampa Bay 62 wins, and they got swept in the first round by Columbus. So, I mean, it's highly unlikely it would happen again, but still, that's really tough spot. I will say it is a very tough spot. If you fall behind 1-0 or 2-0 in that series. Sports Illustrated Sportsbook, you can find them online at sisportsbook.com, and you can go there if you're in the state of Colorado, deposit with the promo code new players only AFF300, get up to $300 in free bets. Again, must be 21 years or older to play. Terms and conditions apply in Colorado, and you could bet on the draft over the next few days. You could bet on Major League Baseball, NBA, NHL, all of that right there in the great state of Colorado. The SI Sportsbook, Sports Illustrated Sportsbook, find them online at sisportsbook.com. All right, let's look at some baseball before we escape today. And not a big card. We had just mentioned this game, Giants and Brewers in Milwaukee. And Corbin Burns, a heavy favorite for the Brew Crew, as they are back at home after they took 2 of 3 from the Phillies the last few days, especially that 1-0 win last night on Sunday Night Baseball. And the Brewers, they have won now 6 of 7. The only loss coming on Friday, 4-2 to the Phillies. A game they were up 2-1, and then Philadelphia scored 3 runs late to win it 4-2. So the Brewers playing very well. The Giants, off a 3-game sweep of the Nationals, they allowed 6 runs in that series. And this is a hell of a road trip for San Francisco. Cleveland, the Mets, Washington, and they continue now with Milwaukee before they go home for a relatively easy homestand. The Giants get the A's and the Nationals back-to-back before facing the Dodgers. But Corbin Burns, heavy favorite here tonight, and Sam Long goes for the Giants. Don't know how long he'll go because he pitched in that Washington series. Rockies and the Phillies in Philadelphia. They just played at Coors Field last week. Rockies took 2 of 3 in that series. They're now 10-5, Colorado. They took 2 of 3 from Detroit over the weekend. The Phillies at 6-10. And Philadelphia, who got off to, let's say, a decent start, but they won their first 2 games against the Oakland A's, and they have just not been good recently. 7 runs the past 3 games for the Phillies. In that last series, Kyle Gibson faced Kyle Freeland, and the Rockies ended up winning 6-5. Those 2 pitchers on the mound again tonight, and the Phillies a heavy favorite here. Kyle Gibson has been an under machine since coming to Philadelphia from Texas. He's 3-0 to the under this year. Did have a 12 total last time against Colorado, a 6-5 game. But even dating back to last season, 7-1 his last 8 starts to the under for Kyle Gibson. And Kyle Freeland makes his first road start of the season, coming off a contract extension. And again, the Rockies, who were awful on the road last year, granted they played Detroit and Texas so far, but this will be their first National League road series. Kind of interesting, though pitchers don't hit anymore, but still. So Max Scherzer, he's a St. Louis native, if you didn't know that. He went to Missouri, and he's actually pitched very well in his career when he faces the Cardinals, especially on the road. So he gets the homecoming tonight as the Mets face the Cardinals. And New York took 2 of 3 from Arizona this past weekend, now 12-5 for the Mets. They're playing very well. And Max Scherzer's numbers, I mean, the guy's getting paid $40 million a year. He's living up to a 3-0 record, 2.50 ERA, 10 strikeouts against the Giants his last time out. And the Mets obviously have won all 3 of his starts. So he takes him out. Miles Michaelis goes for the Cardinals. He's been good for St. Louis. A couple underdog wins his last 2 times out against the Brewers and the Marlins. And the Cardinals are 3-0 in his 3 starts. So one of these pitchers obviously will not be unblemished after tonight. But the Mets a heavy favorite there against St. Louis. The Cardinals end up losing to the Reds yesterday. A little bit of a surprise. The Dodgers and the Diamondbacks from Arizona, Walker Buehler goes against Merrill Kelly, 11-4 record for the Dodgers so far on the season. And for Buehler, he'll try to bounce back. He lost to the Braves last time he took the mound. 5 innings, 3 earned runs. So far for Buehler, he's allowed 7 earned runs in 3 starts. LA 2-1 in his 3 starts. And again, another heavy favorite spot for Buehler. ERA around 4. And for Merrill Kelly and the Diamondbacks, they've won 3 of 5. They're playing a little bit better. A little bit. It's not great, but, it's something. But for Kelly, though, 6 innings, an earned run, 5 strikeouts his last time out against Washington. The Diamondbacks are 2-0 in his past 2 starts. He's allowed 1 earned run in 3 starts, so we'll see if he can keep that up coming up tonight. 3 more games to look at. Very light Monday card. The Red Sox and the Blue Jays in Toronto. Jose Barrios, he beat the Red Sox last week at Fenway. And this number has dropped a bit from the open. It was around 140. Red Sox 7-9, lost back-to-back games to the Rays after winning the opener. And Boston did lose 2 of 3 to Toronto at home. Red Sox right now, they are 2-4 the last 6, and they've scored 3 runs or less in 6 of the past 7. So the offense has struggled a bit. Nathan Eovaldi will go. He did pitch 4 2/3 innings against Toronto in a 2-1 win last week, but the Red Sox offense not good right now. And Toronto had their 4-game winning streak snapped at Houston, lost on a walk-off homer yesterday, 8-7, couldn't get the sweep. So the Astros, they get a win. They're now 7-8. They go make the short trip from Houston to Arlington to face the Rangers, who are back home after they won their series against Oakland. They lost on Sunday to the A's. But the Rangers, 5-10, not great, but at least they played a little better recently. Texas has won 3 of 4. So now they return home to face Houston for the first time this year. Framber Valdez, he did not look good his last start against the Angels, allowed 6 earned runs in 4 1/3 innings. And really for Valdez, after beating the Angels his first start, 6 2/3 scoreless innings, 7 1/3 his last 2 starts, 7 runs, 10 hits, 9 walks. Not great numbers. Dane Dunning's been a decent home underdog for the Rangers. He beat the Angels last time he faced them when Shohei Ohtani was on the mound. So see if the Rangers are worth a look. The Guardians of the Galaxy, they go out to Anaheim to face the Angels. This is an interesting line move. Shane Bieber's going for Cleveland tonight. Bieber, he's a Southern California native. He's from Orange County, and he's pitched well his last 2 starts. Michael Lorenzen, the former Cincinnati Red, he has split his 2 starts this year for the Angels. LA 1-4 this season in season openers, so just putting that one out there. But the Guardians off a really rough trip in New York. Saturday was ugly. The Yankees won in walk-off fashion. The fans were throwing trash on the field. And the Guardians were shut down by Garrett Cole yesterday. So Cleveland, I always believed in the change of scenery. So they go out west. I get going from New York to Anaheim. But I still like Bieber here, even though this number has moved in the Angels' favor, where Cleveland was a short favorite. But I think the Guardians rebound. Guardians have been swept twice this year, but they're 7-8. They've had a very up and down season so far. The Angels were up 6-0 on the Orioles yesterday. Baltimore tied it, and then the Angels ended up winning 7-6. But the Angels, they did lose 2 of 3 to Baltimore this weekend. Angels haven't had that rough of a schedule. Pats playing Houston, and honestly, even Houston's struggling. When you look at what the Angels have done through the first 3 weeks of the season, they played Texas and Baltimore, and who else was it that I'm missing? Oh, and the Marlins, they played twice. They beat, but they played the Astros already 7 times, and they've gone 3-4 against them, and Houston's taken a step back. But the Angels really haven't played that tough of a schedule when, Cleveland, they started with Kansas City and Cincinnati, but they had San Francisco. They had the Yankees recently. I still like Cleveland in this game. And you have one hockey game tonight. I don't understand that. You have all these games tomorrow, but one game tonight. This is kind of a screwy schedule how they did things. But the Blackhawks and the Flyers. Philadelphia's won 2 straight. They beat Pittsburgh yesterday as a big underdog. Blackhawks have not been good. Chicago's a short favorite there, and a ton of games coming up on Tuesday. Still a few playoff spots up for grabs in the West. Everything's settled in the East as far as playoff spots, just not seeding. The Panthers are the number 1 seed. Hurricanes and Rangers at the Garden tomorrow. I believe if the Hurricanes win, they'll wrap up the Metro because they're up 4, so they'd be up 6 with only a few games to go. So that's the NHL and the NBA tonight. I still like Utah getting points first time in the series against Dallas. That's one where we'll see if the Mavericks bounce back at home, but Utah now tied at 2. They're guaranteed another home game. I don't see why the Jazz couldn't win this series, even though they probably should have lost Game 4 back on Saturday. Should have covered that game. No reason why they didn't cover it. They had a terrible third quarter there and let Dallas back in the game. All right, Mike, thanks to Dave Sharapan for joining us today on the Daily Insider, as he does every Monday here on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. We'd greatly appreciate it. And just click on the subscribe button, and you'll get all of our videos, our best bet videos, as well as an NFL draft breakdown coming up tomorrow. Looking forward to that one. Scott Smith of the Action Network, he joins us on that video, and also join us coming up Thursday to break down more of the NFL draft. So looking forward to that. I am Kevin Rogers. Thanks a lot for watching today's edition of the Daily Insider. We'll be back with you tomorrow at noon Eastern. And as always, best of luck with your bets.